Hi, this is Mary Maskell, and I wanted to share with you a necklace I made. It resembles a vase with little tiny paper roses. So I decided to make a tutorial on how I made these tiny roses. I hope you like it. If you have any questions on how I make the rest of the necklace, you guys feel free to ask. But for now, I'm just going to concentrate on showing you how I made the tiny roses. So I hope you like it and enjoy it. So let's get started. Here are some of the punches that I used to make these pretty flowers. This is the punch I used for the flowers. It's the Punch a Bunch, and it's a corner punch. It has three different sizes of flowers. Perfect for this little activity. And then I used different punches with snowflakes for the leaves. This one is by Marvy, I believe. Um, I also used, you can use this recollection small flower punch for leaves, and also here is the tiny snowflake punch for uh, the back of the flower. You can also use this punch if you want to add more body to the flower stem. So it's really fun. I also use some glue. Particularly, I use this one because I was not going to use it with photos. So um, I like to use this for other crafts other than using it for photo safe projects. And I like to put it in a container. I think it's easier to just dip my glue in it, especially for these tiny punches. I use a pen and my McGill flower shapers. I use the 1 and the 2 mLs for this project to shape my tiny flowers. Here's a close-up of the little flower we're gonna make. Beautiful. It resembles like a real rose. So put in a white background so that you can see the details a little better. It's really cute. I hope you like it. You can use it in many projects. I also use this wire. I believe it's a 26 gauge wire. It's a painted wire, and it's perfect size for that tiny flower as a stem. If you like to, you can just glue it without the stem. Here I have separated the punches that you're gonna need to make the one rose. So that big flake, I cut it in those sections to use as flowers. You can stagger them and it looks real pretty. And then you use two bigger flowers, two medium size and one tiny flower. The small um punch for the snowflake, I cut the little peaks of it and I used it as the calyx of the flower. And it turned out to look pretty cute, I think. So that's for the big punch. And that one is like to do the leaves. And there's the punch for the small flowers. Like I said, two large, two medium, and one tiny flower. So here I'm cutting a little piece of wire. I think I cut a little too much, so because I can make two flowers out of that much that I cut. And then you want to make a little tiny loop just so that the flower won't slide out. And I think here I made the loop a little too bigger, which I end up trimming later on the video. And so you want to flatten it. You don't want to leave it as a loop because you don't want it to show you. You want to make it as tiny as possible without the flower uh, going all the way through your wire. So I used different pliers to accomplish this, and I apologize for my camera. I'm using my phone. I don't have any other camera, so I cannot do close-ups. So hopefully you can understand what I'm doing here. So I put my flowers and then I start uh, cupping all the little petals, and I like to do one by one because I think it gives it more of a realistic look to your petals versus than just going around the whole flower, even though it's a little tempting because it's so tiny. That's why you will have to use the 1 mm and the 2 mm for this project. So I switch back and forth to just accomplish the most realistic look. So what I'm doing here, you have to do one by one. You just have to be patient and get it done. I think it's so much fun. So, so here I'm finishing with my 5 petals. I did the same with all of them. Then you get your pen and you want to dip the tip onto a little bit of the glue. Don't put too much because you don't want your petals to glue all together. You want them to be separated. So what I do with the very first one that you put is the tiny one, and I like to roll it between my fingers to give it that close middle look that roses tend to have. And then you're gonna dip it again into the glue just a little bit, and uh, continue with one of the middle size flowers, and you wanna put the middle through the pin through the middle of the flower, but you want the cupping to be down so that your petals look flipped upside down. I hope I'm not confusing you too much. Like I said, I cannot focus or close up too much with my phone. But here, I cleaned, if you noticed before, I cleaned a little bit of the glue because I put a little too much, and you don't want too much because if you put too much, all the petals are gonna glue to the top layer and it's not gonna look as realistic. So just a little tiny bit of glue. And then you continue with the second middle size flower. And then you dip it again, and then you're gonna go to the one of the large ones. Remember, you want the curl of the petals to go down. You don't want it up hugging the rest of the layers. You want it against the layers so that your flower looks open. Again, I apologize for the camera. It's my phone, so hopefully one day I can afford to buy me a good camera. So again, I go for the glue again, just a tiny bit, and I go for the last flower. So right through on the middle of it, you pinch it, you make the hole, and push it so that it touches the other layers. Don't squish it, just so that it touches, so the glue can glue the next layer up. That's it. So here it's a close-up. I think it's coming out really cute. The next thing to do is I'm gonna do what is called the calyx of the flower, which is the end green part that flowers tend to have. Roses too, and then I just like to curl with the 1 ml. I like to curl each one of the peaks so that I like to sweep it inside towards the middle so that it curls a little bit, and not just cup it but curl it up. And so again I flip it because I want the curls to go down, same as the other, same as we have been doing. And then you go through the middle again with a little bit of glue. Again, that's important, don't put too much glue. I made that mistake and my flower was, all the petals were glued and they didn't look as realistic. So then I push it so that it barely touches it, and that gives the little calyx, the green part at the end of the flowers, and it looks so cute. Once you have it, that glue dries quickly, but if you use a glue that's not drying quickly, you want to let it dry somewhat before you take it out of the pin. So right here I'm cutting the big snowflake, or the bigger snowflake that I used right through the middle, so that I can have two little peaks of the snowflake, one up and one down across from each other. And then I went with my flower shaper, and I also curl it to give it a look of a realistic leaves. You can use any leaf punch that you have to accomplish this. I just happened to use this one, and I think it came out really cute. I fold it in the middle so that it curls when I poke it with the pin right through the middle. I need to make the hole. So then I got my wire, and here is where I realized that I had made the loop a little bit too big, and when I slide my flower through it, you were going to be able to see the big loop, and you do not want that. You want your folder, that little loop in the end of the wire, to be as tiny as possible. I mean, the hole in that flower, as you can see, is just the pin, so you don't want it. So you don't want a big loop, just a tiny fold is going to hold the flower. And like I said, the tiniest, the better, because you won't be able to see it. So I was happy with how tiny it looked. It was just like the head of a pin. So again, I apologize for the quality of the video. Then by then, it gave time for my flower to dry, for the glue to dry. Now you just slide it out of the pin like that, and you're ready to put it inside your stem, which of course in this case I used that 26 painted wire. You just slide it through it, and you can hardly see since I just folded the wire so tiny, you can barely see it. But again, I forgot to add some glue, so you want to do the same. You dip it in the glue, and then just a tiny bit, and then you want to slide your flower so that it won't move, so that it will stay in place, just like that. You want to shape your top layer. I like to get some pliers and just squeeze the top layer and shape it and fold it into that initial bud that roses tend to have in the middle. And again, I'm sorry I cannot focus too much or zoom in, but hopefully you can get the idea. It looks very realistic when you do that pinching or the folding on the top of that first tiny flower. And then I'm gonna dip it again into the glue because I want to put my leaves. And again, I have forgotten to do my hole, so I just use my pin to do the hole in between the flowers, which again is the larger snowflake punch. And then you just slide it to wherever you want it. And again, you can do several of those leaves if you want to make it with more greenery in there, more leaves. Just pinch it in the middle so that the glue stays, and then you just arrange your leaves however you want it, and that's what you get. It looks, I know the camera doesn't show very good detail, but when you do it, you're going to be amazed at how real these tiny little roses look. And I just had to share it with you guys. I love it. I'm hooked. I want to use it for so many projects. So just like that, from the top, you cannot see the wire. So that's what you have to do, and that's it. Hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to leave me any comments or